device. That's what you mentioned. Flaps are a lifting device. What about drag?
That's it. Flaps. Flaps are devices designed to create drag on the aircraft, slow the aircraft's speed. That's what they're designed to do. In the event of producing drag, flaps do produce lift, but they produce more drag than lift. This is the reason why I asked, what about 40 degrees?
That's right.
What about 10 degrees? If you put it at 40 degrees, you can create a lot of drag. So,
this is how I would explain it the easiest way to the student. Why do we have 25 degrees of flaps? At 25 degrees of flaps, we have more lift than drag. Because flaps add lift, at the same time they add drag. At 25 degrees, for the Piper, we have more lift than drag. At 40 degrees, we have more drag than lift. At 10 degrees, we have more lift than drag, but it's not as good as 25 where we have much more lift than drag. So the 25 is like right on. I'm getting the maximum lift for minimum drag, okay? That's why we use 25. That's the easiest way to explain. Common errors. Taxi clearance, power, use all available runway, gear on the grass if you have to.
Check the maps.
Did you mention crosswind?
No, we didn't mention the crosswind.
Not applying crosswind correction as necessary. Remember, if it's a 500-foot strip runway, whatever, and the wind is a direct crosswind, well, it's going to be a different technique because you're going to have the aileron all the way, going to add much more right rudder on the liftoff, and then immediately you want to mention crab into the wind.
Yes.
After liftoff, and you're holding
weather vane.
of course, you know, you want to mention that, the wind. Coordination, right rudder, also very important. This is very, very important. I've seen students constantly not step on the rudder, and as soon as the airplane lifts off on a short field takeoff, that P factor, torque effect, and slipstream sends the airplane like 30 degrees off center line. And the ball is way off center, like way, not even touching the rudder pedal. You've got to step on the right foot, and it's very, very important.
That's not an aircraft you want to apply right away. Because
which one is that?
I remember there's a tape right in Florida took off. This was me. He's like
Yeah, you got to step on.
Yeah, same with the 172RG Cutlass. The 182.
Yeah, you got to step on the rudder. Mention that to your configuration, 25 degrees of flaps. We talked about that. Checklist usage. Okay. Call for the appropriate checklist. Or in the common errors, failure to do the checklist.
I said it, right?
On the completion standards, calls for the appropriate checklist. That's on the completion standards for the movie. You mentioned rotate above 55.
No, I said on the common errors. I said
common. Okay, that's what. Common errors is to rotate more than 55.
They lift because I repeated everything. The whole maneuver briefly.
So what was the pilot's operating handbook saying? 57 lift off.
5 rotation
57. Okay. So back then you'll say you want to rotate at 55 and lift off.
lift off 57, rotate.
Okay, so you want to rotate at 55 and lift off at 57, which is only 2 knots. It's going to come up really, really quick. And then the barrier speed, 60. Hold. If you do have an obstacle, to clear the obstacle, you'd be at 60 knots. That's your barrier speed. Okay? You mentioned retracting the flaps fast and then dropping. Common errors.
Yeah, that was all common. Because some people, they just put the flaps down and then play with ropes.
Do we have to retract the flaps fast?
No. I didn't say to retract the flaps. I said once we get our airspeed and positive rate, we can take it.
So when you were talking about the maneuver, assuming we have an obstacle, okay, we're going to rotate at 55, we're going to lift off at 57, we're going to clear the obstacle barrier speed at 60. At that point, we're going to reduce the pitch to from Vx to Vy climb, maybe about 2 degrees node down. Keep the positive rate of climb and accelerate. While we're accelerating, we can reach for the flap handle and retract it nice and easy, because it's not a Cessna when it's an electrical motor. You have full authority on the flaps. You can tell the flaps, I want you at 22 degrees. You push the button, drop it to 22. So you can actually look outside. We're going to look outside, hold the same pitch attitude, climbing, and we're going to retract. And you can, like, talk through it. Show your hands. I'm actually retracting the flaps slowly while looking outside, all the way down to 0 within 5 to 10 seconds. You don't have that drop. It's not going to drop. I mean, have you ever done it on the Piper?
I've done it fast one time just to see how it would go and pull that thing.
You can, within 10 seconds, if you look outside and, you know, change your pressure on the control wheel, you can slowly get the flaps retracted while nobody's even going to pay attention. Like the passengers wouldn't even notice it on a Piper. You cannot do it on the Cessna. You cannot. The Cessna is an electrical motor. It will just do whatever it wants. If it's a new motor, it's going to come in fast.
Except the 150 that you have to press and then take off.
Yeah. That's a different animal. Now we're talking Piper. Okay, so let's keep it in the Piper. You did say pitch for Vx, not Vy. I believe we talked about it with the shorts.
Yes.
If it's a short runway and there's water at the departure end, you can pitch for Vy. Keep the positive rate of climb. Never drop the nose to build speed, ever. All we're doing after liftoff and airborne, pitch for the pitch attitude required for a Vy. Okay? If there's an obstacle, well, guess what? You don't pitch to a Vy until you clear that obstacle. KISS, we mentioned, keep it simple, stupid, not complicated. And you said Aero is a retractable gear, or it's RG. You said something about that?
That was he was asking.
Oh, he was okay, that's what it was. Okay.
What's that pitch?
You mentioned questions after the completion. Oh, you mentioned questions right after the common errors.
The completion standards is plus or minus. I said.
Yeah, you mentioned.
I
Didn't
mentioned
have the
plus-
explainer commanders like.
It was like that, right? It wasn't like completion standards or summarized at all. It was like you skip a couple of very important steps on the presentation. We have overview, which is what it is. We have the maneuver.
Why do we do it?
Why and how we do it. What it is and why do we do it and how do we do it, which is supposed to be about 12 minutes. Because this is the majority of the presentation right there. This is where it's at. This is the whole procedure, everything, spent about 10 to 12 minutes. After you're done with that, you have common errors. After that, you have completion standards.
The completion standards, this will be plus or minus 5 with the airspeed, right?
Yeah, completion. This is different PTS, but let's look at short field takeoff and climb. Tell you what you need to do here on the completion standards. Glassy water, that's seaplane. Okay, short field maximum performance climb. I don't.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't see it on the CFI. Maybe on the CFI.
Problem is in the
It's not on the
oral. I have the oral in my back.
But the oral it is.
You know, pull the private pilot BTS. I don't want to go by this because this is not proper for a private. But it's basically maintains runway center line, maintain coordination, applies wind correction for the wind, maintain VX climb plus, 10 minus 5, accelerates to VY plus 10 minus 5 while attracting the flaps, blah, blah, blah. This is a completion standard. He's going to pull it. Look at short field takeoff.
Actually,
I mean, they renewed it. They put emergency descent and they put accelerated stall.
oh, not in private pilot?
On the private, they changed it, so maybe they got rid of those. I haven't kept an eye on it. Keep coming down. Okay, keep coming down. Okay, hold on. Certificates, keep coming down. Keep coming down.
Take off.
Okay. Normal. Keep coming down. Short field takeoff. Confined area. Task E. Page 45. All right, just go down. You can move this way. What do you want? Keep going. What do you want? Go up? Okay. Okay, perfect. You see? That's it. Okay, keep going down. This is the completion standards. If you have to read it, but do not skip it ever on your FAA inspector. If you skip this, you're done. The whole presentation is screwed up. It has a lot of information you gotta, look at.
I like them, that's myself.
And a lot of the stuff you didn't even mention. Set flaps you did. Clears the area. Taxiing and takeoff. I think you said that. Aligns the airplane on the runway center line. Did you ever mention that? This is the completion standards. Applies brakes appropriately, advancing the throttle. You said that. Smoothly. You said that. Establish and maintains most efficient landing liftoff attitude and corrects the positioning skipping. Rotates and liftoff at the recommended airspeed and accelerates the recommended obstacle clearance VX. Establishes a pitch to maintain blah blah blah. Plus 10 minus 5. Plus 10 minus 5. Retract landing gear if appropriate of flaps after clearing the obstacle. So this is a computer science. You want to say that. You don't want to skip that. This is a must. Okay? You gotta mention that.
I'll put it there.
After you're done with this, summarize. Or wrap it up. Then, question.
Okay.
And what happened with you did this, was okay, maneuver too short, common errors, you skip right into the question. Are we still recording or you need to take notes? Still recording? Because all these notes are very important. I want them to, today, tomorrow, next week, next month. Look at that tape and kind of set yourself up, in a way. Summarize, mention that. 11 minutes, and then question. Too short. Try, I'm not saying be exactly 15 minutes for the inspector, but, plus or minus a minute.